Hello, I'm Sensei Alex Kakio. Thanks for joining me this evening for meditation and sutra study. This evening's practice will consist of a 15-minute guided meditation, a reading from Buddhist scripture, followed by a Dharma talk. The title of today's Dharma talk is Bodhi Day, celebrating our own enlightened nature. Before we get into that, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way you'll be notified when I post talks in the future. If you wouldn't mind hitting the like button, that'd be great too. So as we head into our guided meditation, I'll give you a moment to get into position. The only rules are you need to be comfortable, and you need to be in a position you can hold for at least 15 minutes without moving. If you'd like to lie down, that's fine, but I ask that you please not fall asleep. For some instruction, what I like to do is sit cross-legged either on the floor or on a cushion. Left hand goes palm up in the lap. Right hand goes palm up over the left. Back straight, chin slightly tucked. Eyes can be closed, or if they're open, that's fine as well. Just point them towards the floor at a 45-degree angle to eliminate visual distractions. And we'll begin our meditation by breathing in and out through the nose. Breathing in this way engages the parasympathetic portion of our nervous system. It tells our body that we're safe, that we can relax. On every inhale, we poke out the belly button slightly, and we relax on the exhale, ensuring that we get a good lung full of air. If we're wondering what to do with our thoughts, we simply direct them towards the physical sensations of breathing. The feeling of our clothing against our skin, the feeling of air moving in and out of our lungs. We'll breathe in this way for about 2 minutes. I'll keep time. And if our mind wanders, that's okay. We just say hello to our thoughts and bring our focus back to our breathing. Excellent. Keep breathing. Now we'll visualize a fire burning in the space behind our belly button. This fire burns just like a campfire in the woods, and it's our favorite color. If we like red, the fire is red. If we like green, the fire is green. Just watch it burn. Now imagine that with every inhale, we bring air into our lungs. And then with every exhale, we visualize ourselves blowing on the base of the fire, feeding it oxygen, heating up the coals, making it burn bigger and brighter with every breath. We breathe in through the nose, air enters our lungs. We breathe out through the nose and we blow on the fire of our own enlightened nature. We'll breathe in this way for about 2 minutes. I'll keep time. Wonderful. Now we envision a channel of energy going down from our belly into the center of the earth. There we find an energy that's identical to our own. If our fire is blue, the earth's energy is blue. If our fire is red, the earth's energy is red. The Buddha relied on the earth 2,600 years ago to realize enlightenment, and now we'll do the same. With every inhale, we'll envision ourselves pulling energy up from the earth, storing it in our belly, mingling it with the own fire of our enlightenment. With every exhale, we'll continue to blow on that fire, amplifying it. Feeding it both with our breath and with the energy of the earth. We'll breathe in this way for about 2 minutes. I'll keep time, and if our mind wanders, that's okay. We say hello to our thoughts and bring our focus back to our breathing and the visualization. perfect. Everyone's sitting so still and so quietly, adding to the energy of the meditation. Now we'll continue with our visualization by sending a channel of energy up from our belly to the tops of our head. So there's one channel going down from our belly down to the center of the earth, a second going from our belly up to the top of our head. With every inhale, we visualize energy coming up from the earth and we store it in our bellies, blending it with the fire of our enlightened nature. With every exhale, we push that energy up, out the top of our head until it explodes like a volcano, showering every inch of us in healing spiritual light. You've had a difficult week, and now it's our chance to send healing wherever it's needed. We breathe in, energy comes up from the earth to our belly. We breathe out, that same energy goes out the top of our head and explodes, covering every inch of us. We'll breathe in this way for about a minute. I'll keep time. Great work. Now it's time to bring our meditation to a close. We'll do this first by gently closing off the channel of energy to the top of our head, easing the energy down until it stops right there in our belly. Then we'll do the same with the channel of energy going down into the earth, pulling it up into our cells, bringing it to our belly. Maybe we give a silent bow to the earth for helping us in our practice today. Now we take a moment to look again at the fire in the space behind our belly button, reminding ourselves that we can call upon this spiritual energy whenever we need it throughout the week. But now it's time to let that visualization fade. And we come back into our bodies by moving our heads to the left and then to the right, back and forth, feeling the physical sensations. Then we come back to center. We rotate our shoulders forward. And then back. Just feeling the movement in our body. Until finally they hang limply towards the floor. And now, if our eyes are closed, we open them. I'll give you about 20 seconds to do that. Thanks for staying with me tonight. It's quickly becoming my favorite part of the week. Now it's time to do our Sutra reading. We'll be reading this week from The Center Within by Reverend Guillaume M. Kubose. Not necessary to have a copy of the text with you, but it can be useful if you'd like to follow along. Tonight's reading comes from page 54. It's entitled Bodhi Day. And it states, December 8th is Bodhi Day. On this day, after years of effort, Siddhartha Gautama meditated under the pipal tree and attained enlightenment. He was then called Buddha, which means the awakened one. This was the beginning of Buddhism. Siddhartha was born as a crown prince. He had wealth, power, everything an ordinary man would want. However, there was a great deal of internal struggle in the prince. He wanted to know, really know about life and how its sufferings could be overcome. All men are subject to suffering caused by illness, old age, death, and sufferings arising from separation from loved ones and forced contact with disliked people. There are many sufferings which arise from desires that cannot be satisfied. Siddhartha Gautama meditated on the nature of suffering and concluded that the root of suffering is ignorance. This ignorance can appear in many ways, as egotistic selfishness, as stupidity, or as greed. There were many temptations for young Siddhartha. A story is told that while in meditation, 3 beautiful sisters came and danced for him and beseeched him to return to his father's palace and enjoy life. Demons appeared and threatened his life. Avoiding fear was also a temptation. Many temptations came and he subdued them, one after another. But as he subdued one temptation, another appeared. He subdued that temptation and another appeared. They were endlessly coming, temptation after temptation. There was no end to them. Siddhartha wondered why. He realized that temptations were not coming from anywhere. They were all within himself. When he realized that he was the source of all temptation, then duality was transcended. This great discovery was his enlightenment. On the morning of December 8th, as the morning star was brightly shining, Siddhartha experienced that the root of suffering was within him. He was it. This was great enlightenment. As he was the root of all temptation, so he was also the one to master these temptations. He saw the truth of the reality of life. This is Buddhism. This is Buddhism. Such powerful words. What do they mean? Well, in every religion, there are certain days that are considered holy. Christians celebrate Christmas, Muslims celebrate Ramadan, Jews celebrate Hanukkah. These days allow practitioners to honor historical events and important religious figures. They give us a reason to come together as a community. Buddhists celebrate Bodhi Day, which is the day that Buddha realized enlightenment. Now, the story was alluded to in Reverend Guillaume's essay, so I won't go too far into it, but for those of you who are unfamiliar, when Buddha was born, the oracle at his birth, it was traditional then to have an oracle present at the birth of a child to tell the parents what they were in for. And the oracle said that he would be either a world-conquering monarch or a world-turning holy man. Now, Buddha's father was a warrior king, and he wanted his son to go into the family business. He was a practical man, so that's understandable. So he had a great palace built, and he kept Buddha within that palace. He wasn't allowed to leave. And the father only allowed pleasurable, visually appealing things to enter into the palace. Sick people, old people weren't allowed in. The Buddha was raised in and surrounded by material wealth. He had access to everything. We're told that he was an excellent scholar, a terrific athlete. He had everything that he could want if he wanted to live a materialistic, hedonistic life. But far from being happy, the Buddha was left feeling empty and rather sad by the life that he was living. The pleasures were temporary. They were empty. They never gave him any lasting satisfaction. So he left the palace and he became an ascetic. Now, asceticism is this idea that our bodies are bad. They are defiled. And so we must turn our backs on our body and on the physical world in order to realize awakening. And we see this tradition alive and well in India today. So it's not unusual for a yogi who's practicing asceticism to cut their flesh with a knife or to burn their bodies and do this with a smile on their face. The idea being that they're so withdrawn from the physical world that they care so little about their body that they can cut it or burn it and not care. Some of them have even been known to eat the flesh of corpses to show that they have no fear of death. None of these are Buddhist practices, so we're clear. But in asceticism, the point is the highest proof of enlightenment is the willing destruction of the body. So sometimes you'll see practitioners sit in the lotus position until they become crippled. Or they'll hold their hand to the sky, they'll tie it to a tree, let's say, until the muscles atrophy and they lose use of that limb. This is what awakening looks like to an ascetic. And for a time, this is the path that Buddha walked. The asceticism he chose was starvation. It got to the point, according to the sutras, that he was only eating 1 grain of rice a day. He was so skinny that he could push his belly button and feel his spine. It got to the point that when he was sitting under a tree in meditation, his limbs had become so bony and thin, his skin was so paper-like, so unhealthy, that people literally thought he was part of the tree. They thought he was some sort of wood spirit. Eventually, Buddhist asceticism caught up with him, and he quite nearly died of starvation. He passed out face down in the river, and he would have died there. He would have drowned if not for the actions, the kindness of one woman, a milkmaid named Sujata, who pulled him from the river and gave him rice milk to drink. Now, this may seem like an ordinary, obvious thing to do, but is it? How many times do individuals walk past people who are homeless, let's say, without offering them help? Drive past crash victims, and instead of saying, hey, do you need to use my cell phone, they just look to see how bad the accident is. And we do that in the modern day when we have police officers to take care of us. Imagine how dangerous it was for Sujata, a young woman by herself, walking alone on the road, to approach this man she'd never met. She had no idea what his intentions were. Pull him from the river and offer him food. During a time when food was very difficult to come by. During a time when starvation was an ever-present threat. No one would have blamed Sujata if she had kept walking. But she didn't. And because she didn't, Buddha realized his mistake, realized that his asceticism hadn't taken him any closer to enlightenment, hadn't helped him solve the problem of suffering. It only made him hungry. And so he sat under the Bodhi tree after he regained his strength, saying he would not move from that spot until he found a way to end all sorrow. During his time under the Bodhi tree, Buddha was visited by the god Mara. Mara being the god of demons. He's also the god of lies and temptation. And he was tempted by three things. He was tempted by doubt. Mara asked him, "Who are you to be a holy man? What makes you think you, of all people, can change the world?" And instead, he offered Buddha a kingdom, saying that if he would give up his quest for enlightenment, all the kingdoms of the world would be his. Remember, the oracle at his birth said that Buddha could potentially be a world-conquering monarch. But Buddha said no. Next, Mara tempted him with wealth, saying, "I will give you all the riches of all the world if you give up your quest and return to the palace." Again, Buddha said no. So he's been tempted with status, conquering the entire world, and he's been tempted with wealth. Finally, Mara tempted him with sexuality. As was referenced in the essay, his daughters danced before the Buddha. And they asked him, "Do you really want to be a celibate monk? When all the pleasures of the flesh could be yours?" And once again, Buddha said no. He said no to temptation over and over and over again, until finally Mara simply asked him point blank, "Who bears witness for you? Who says that you can be the enlightened one?" And at the time, Mara had an army of demons and ghosts and spirits behind him. Buddha was alone. I think we've all felt alone at times. But Buddha did not give up. Instead, he reached down to the earth in the same way we do during our guided meditations. And he said, "The earth bears witness." And in that moment, Mara and all of his temptations were defeated. The earth trembled, they all fell into the earth, and the morning star rose in the sky. Upon seeing it, Buddha let out what's come to be known as the lion's roar, and he realized enlightenment. So that is part of what we're celebrating today. The fact that Buddha realized enlightenment under the Bodhi tree. But there's more to it than that. Because we're also celebrating the kindness of Sujata. Her single act of kindness, which again, no one would have blamed her if she hadn't done, changed the entire world. None of us would be here today if not for her. Because of her simple act of kindness, her single bowl of rice milk, our lives are richer and better than they would have been otherwise. So we are celebrating the power of one act of kindness, something all of us can do. More than that, we are celebrating our own enlightened nature. The sutras tell us that all beings possess Buddha nature, which means all living beings can realize enlightenment, just as the Buddha did. There are only two things required for enlightenment. One, you have to have Buddha nature, which we've covered. We all have that. Two, you have to be a human being, which, if you're watching this, I assume you are. And the reason for that is that if you live in a realm that's higher, than the human world. Let's say you're in the demigod realm or the god realm. You are surrounded by so much luxury, so much wealth, so much pleasure in terms of the senses that you just don't have the motivation to realize enlightenment. So it's impossible for you. On the flip side, if you're born as an animal or a hungry ghost, or you're in the hell realms, your suffering is too great. You're too wrapped up in your instincts and your animalistic tendencies, greed, anger, ignorance, to realize enlightenment. Even if you want to, there's just too much noise in your head. But we are so lucky that we are born as humans and we have Buddha nature, because we can do exactly what the Buddha did. We can overcome our own temptations. We can overcome ignorance, overcome greed, overcome anger. We can wake up in this lifetime. More than that, as Sujata proved, we can help others do the same. Now, the world is a chaotic, messed up place. Just like in the time of Buddha, there was war, and there was famine, there was greed, so much suffering. And we don't know which ones of our acts will change the world. Thus, kindness is an act of faith. A faith that says what we do matters. That even if we don't see the good that we're doing, it exists. We can't fix everything in this lifetime, but we can try. Praise Buddha. We can try. And in that trying, we will succeed, because if we save only one being from suffering, the sutras tell us we've saved them all. So again, on this day, we don't just celebrate Buddha's enlightenment. We celebrate our own enlightenment as well. We celebrate our own power to make a difference. This opportunity we have to experience enlightenment in this lifetime and to help others do the same. And we do this not necessarily through Dharma talks or prostrations or through meditating or sutra study, though all of those things are helpful. I'm obviously a big believer in them. We do this through caring for our animals. We do this through watering our gardens, through loving our families. Our daily life is Buddha practice. Sujata's example shows us that the Buddha Dharma lives in every action we take. As long as it is positive and it is life-affirming, it is moving the world towards awakening. And here on December 8th, on the day of Buddha's awakening, we celebrate our opportunity. Praise Buddha, our chance to do what he did. And we don't even need a Bodhi tree to do it. Amitabha. So that's the talk for today. I hope it was helpful. I'll just end with a few announcements. First off, if you haven't already, please don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way you'll be notified when I post talks in the future. If you wouldn't mind hitting the like button as well, that'd be great too. It's a huge help both to me and the channel. This was Meditation and Sutra Study. We do it every Wednesday at 7 p.m. It involves a 15-minute guided meditation, a reading from Buddhist scripture followed by a Dharma talk. Every Sunday we do something a little less involved. It's Dharma Sunday, and during that time I take some topic from the news or pop culture and I speak on it. I give a Dharma talk from the Buddhist perspective, thus tying canonical Buddhist teachings with daily life. If there's a topic you would like me to cover during Dharma Sunday, something that's happening in the world that you'd want the Buddhist perspective on, please let me know in the comments. So that's all for today. I hope to see you this Sunday. Until then, Amitabha.